Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. In today's video, I am going to be discussing last night's game between the Milwaukee Bucks and the Chicago Bulls. However, before I get too far into it, I want to remind you all to leave a like and subscribe. I've been appreciating all of the support that I've been receiving lately, and I hope to see that continue. I also want to say that if it seems like I'm talking about the Bucks an awful lot, it's because I am. They are my favorite team, and because of that, I tend to watch their games quite a bit more often than I do any other team in the NBA. So I'm going to end up talking about them more than anyone else, but I certainly will talk about other teams whenever I'm able to watch them. Now, without further ado, let's talk about last night's game. I think you have to start off with Giannis Antetokounmpo. He had a terrific game last night, finishing with a near triple-double and posting 29 points, 12 rebounds, 8 assists, as well as 2 steals on 2 blocks on 9 for 19 shooting, 1 for 5 from 3. He also got to the line 18 times, although he wasn't too successful, knocking down just 10 of those 18 free throws, but overall, Giannis looked really good tonight. He was attacking the rim. He was drawing contact at a high rate. I even thought that he probably could have taken more than just those 18 free throws. There were a few times where it felt like he just wasn't getting calls from refs on plays where there was quite a bit of contact, and he probably could have gotten to the line a few more times. He also played just the first 3 or 4 minutes of the fourth quarter, and had he been available, and well, I guess he was available, but had his services been needed for a longer amount of time, he could have put up even better counting stats. So overall, just a great game from Giannis, and really, really impressed with the way he was able to bounce back from a few tougher performances against the Heat earlier this week. Outside of him, the Bucks' second highest leading scorer tonight was Bryn Forbes. Forbes just looked terrific. Anytime he had any sort of daylight, he was rising up and knocking down every shot he took. I was watching the game with my dad tonight, and basically every time Bryn Forbes took a shot, we knew it was going in because it just felt like he couldn't miss, and statistically we knew coming in that he was a terrific shooter during his time in San Antonio, but I think that may have understated just how good of a shooter Bryn Forbes was, because that San Antonio team had pretty poor spacing. It was really cramped because of the presence of DeMar DeRozan and LaMarcus Aldridge on the court. And I think that Bryn Forbes has a chance to be an even better shooter once he comes into this Milwaukee Bucks system that emphasizes three-point shots at such a high rate and has great three-point look creators in Giannis Antetokounmpo and Chris Middleton, and even Jrue Holiday at this point has been creating a lot of good looks for his teammates. So I think that Bryn Forbes can be a really impactful player for this Bucks team coming off the bench, and I'm really excited to see what kind of contributions he can really bring to this team once the games start counting a bit more. Obviously, scoring 18 points against Chicago in a random game in December, or I guess, holy cow, it's January now, isn't too big of a deal, but I was really impressed with what I saw. He was really efficient, shooting 6 for 9 from the field, 4 for 6 from 3, and I think that he has a chance to really be a difference maker for this Bucks team. Jrue Holiday also stood out to me a little bit tonight, mostly because of what he was doing on the defensive end of the floor. During the time that he was on Kobe White or on Zach LaVine, he was really just hounding those guys. LaVine finished with 5 turnovers, White finished with 4, and Jrue Holiday finished with 3 steals, and a lot of the other turnovers that those guys had, aside from just Holiday's pure steals, were on poor passes that were forced by the absolute hounding defense that he played on them. We actually saw Kobe White get quite hot towards the back end of the third quarter and the beginning of the fourth quarter, and he finished with a somewhat respectable stat line of 12, 4, and 3 on 4 for 13 shooting, 1 for 5 from 3. But all of that production, all of that scoring really came in garbage time. I think he only had 1 basket in the entire first half. And Jrue Holiday was the biggest factor in that being the case. I was really impressed with the on-ball defense he played, and he also did a really nice job tonight of just taking what the defense gave him on the offensive end of the floor. The counting stats aren't overly impressive. 11 points, I think he had like 3 or 4 assists, But when the Bucks needed him to score, he knocked down some key shots. There was a step back three-pointer that he made. He knocked down a catch and shoot shot, and he just wasn't trying to force it, and it felt like at a few points in the first half, there were a few shots that he even should have made in the flow of the offense that were more of bunnies. So if he could have knocked those down, his point totals would have been even higher, and I just thought that he played well, and you can definitely see what the importance of adding him as a third option is going to be for this Milwaukee Bucks team as the season continues. I also want to talk about my single favorite player in the entire NBA. You guys know this if you've been watching this for the channel for a while now, and I just absolutely love Donte DiVincenzo. I think that he is going to be a remarkable difference maker in the NBA moving forward. I was pretty disappointed when I found out that the Bucks were trading him for Bogdan Bogdanovic, and I'm quite relieved that he's still on the roster because it appears that his offensive game has taken a significant step forward in this season. He looks far more comfortable shooting the ball off the dribble, as he's really introduced that as a new aspect of his offensive game. Tonight, he had just 11 points on 4 for 5 shooting, 3 for 4 from the three-point line. But throughout the season so far, I believe he's shooting well over 60% from 3. And yes, it is a small sample size, just 6 games. But to see him shooting with the confidence he is, early in the shot clock, off the dribble, it's certainly promising, and it could be a huge jumping point as we continue to see Donte DiVincenzo develop. He's already a very high-level defensive player. They were talking about on the broadcast tonight that one of his goals for the season is to make an all-NBA defensive team, and I really don't think that that's too far out of the question. He's super talented on that end, takes on difficult matchups, moves his feet, keeps guys in front of him. He has also mastered the full art form of blocking jump shots from behind, which is really important when you're a guard in the Bucks drop coverage system, because a lot of the times you're being asked to go over screens so that the drop big man doesn't have to hedge on that screen. You're just able to go over and not have to worry about switching or anything. And that sometimes can lead to open mid-range jumpers, and we've seen the Bucks get hurt by that quite a bit in recent seasons. Eric Bledsoe and now Donte DiVincenzo are experts, though, at contesting shots from behind and occasionally even blocking them and creating some transition opportunities. I've seen multiple occasions so far this year, and I think one of those was tonight, where Donte came around a ball screen at the top of the key, blocked a jump shot from behind, leaked out in transition, caught an outlet pass from whoever it may be, Giannis, Chris, and then got a layup in transition. And I think that aspect of his game, the plus defense, the improved shooting, as well as his already pretty solid capability as a slasher and playmaker, like, this guy is the full deal, and at the very least, I think that he's going to be a high-level starter as a combo guard who can kind of play either of those two guard positions at a high level, and I'm excited to see what his future is here in Milwaukee. The next thing I want to address here is the Thanasis Antetokounmpo getting real rotation minutes. I mean, I don't know. He has not looked too great out there. He plays with a high motor, and he's always giving great effort. And on the defensive side of the floor, you can see where he's genuinely impactful. He can switch up and down the lineup, can guard multiple positions, uses his length and athleticism to jump in passing lanes and create leak-out opportunities. But on the offensive end, he's a genuine zero. Players don't feel any need to guard him on the perimeter, and he can't shoot, so you certainly can't blame them. He makes head-scratching decisions sometimes with the ball, where you see him drive into swarms of defenders and he just turns the ball over. And at this point, he's just so raw on the offensive end, and he also can be mistake-prone and takes too many gambles on the defensive end that I don't think he's ready for rotational minutes. DJ Wilson did not look very good to kick off the season in that fourth big man role for the Bucks behind Giannis, Brook Lopez, and Bobby Portis, of course. But I think he has a chance to at least be a more impactful player than Thanasis because DJ can at least kind of shoot. And on defense, I like his versatility and his mobility on the perimeter to guard multiple positions. So as long as Torrey Craig is out, I think that DJ is more deserving of those minutes than Thanasis. But I think Bud is trying to feel it out, see what combinations work the best, and once he sees what's successful, that's what he's going to stick with. The Torrey Craig injury is pretty big, though. He's out for a couple more weeks. I think he has like a fractured nose or something like that, some kind of face injury. And so obviously, prayers for a speedy recovery for Torrey, but once he does come back, he's just going to make this lethal Bucks defense all that much better as a player who can match up with multiple positions and can take on some really challenging matchups against opposing big wings. And getting back to that suffocating Bucks defense, the perimeter defense on this team is just outstanding. Drew Holiday is an all-defense level defender. Dante DiVincenzo is a borderline all-defense type guy. Chris Middleton, when he's 100% locked in on defense and not having to focus on carrying the offensive load all the time, is another very high-level defensive player. Giannis is a Defensive Player of the Year winner. Brook Lopez made the all-defensive team last year. Off the bench, it falls off a little bit. DJ Augustine and Bryn Forbes are both minus defenders in the backcourt. And in the front court, well, Bobby Portis is a pretty solid rim protector. He certainly does have mental lapses. But with that starting five and off the bench, you still have Pat Connaughton and Torrey Craig once he's healthy as good defensive options on the wings. This Bucks defense really has a chance to be something special, and I'd quite honestly be surprised if that, alongside the coaching brilliance in the regular season of Mike Budenholzer, if the Bucks were to finish outside of the top three in defensive rating at the conclusion of this season. Pat Connaughton also had a pretty good game for the Bucks off the bench. This is the second consecutive game where he's actually shot the ball quite well. Tonight he scored 11 points and grabbed 5 boards on 3 for 3 3-point shooting. He was 0 for 2 inside the arc, but really the 3-point shooting is quite promising, as that has always kind of been the knack on Pat, as he's a good athlete who has a good motor, gives a lot of effort defensively, and on offense is really athletic, and that allows him to be pretty good in transition, but he has never really been a good 3-point shooter, has always been in the low 30s throughout his career. And if he's able to improve that and get up towards league average, I really think that he can be a player you can trust in playoff minutes. Now, the lapses defensively might be a bit of a cause for concern, but overall, I'm excited by what I've seen from Pat Connaughton this year, and I think that he can perhaps really help this Bucks team out as a weapon off the bench. Overall, this was a really solid win for the Bucks. The Bulls are nothing special, and the Bucks took care of them accordingly. This 126-96 win was an absolute domination. The Bucks were in control throughout, and the final result was really never in doubt. I get it, the Bulls were missing some important players due to COVID protocols, but you have to hand it to the Bucks. They took care of business tonight, and that's all you can ask for. Let me know what your thoughts were on the game tonight if you tuned in. Leave a like and subscribe if you did enjoy this video. I think that's going to be it for me. Ladies and gentlemen, I will see you all again very soon.